the Detroit Lions are on the cusp of having an excellent season and doing something that we are very long overdue in doing and accomplishing, which is making it to the playoffs, let alone even winning a playoff game, which would be absolutely incredible if the Lions can pull it off. But what we're already seeing, and after having a long couple of weeks to think about the Lions season and where they're headed and what's coming up and who can come up and snake bite us, as we saw what the Vikings did and how excellent Josh Dobbs played in a game that they should have lost. So my question is, are the Lions going to get snake bit this season? I hope that the answer is a resounding no. And I hope that we continue to play as strong as we have been in finding ways to win, not to lose. But there's been 26 teams. 26 NFL teams have won a playoff game in the last 8 seasons. The remaining 6 have experienced different levels of futility, much like the Lions. The Jets, the Bears, they haven't earned a playoff win since 2010. The Commanders and the Raiders, well, they can trace their droughts all the way back to the George W. Bush administration. And then the Dolphins, they've gone more than 2 decades without the elusive win. Then there's our Detroit Lions. Detroit's misery on the field, it's well documented. And it hasn't always been the case, where our struggling, translates from regular season success to playoff success or vice versa. But even our regular season triumph has been fleeting. The Lions have just been, for lack of a better word, pathetic for more than 2 decades. The last time the Lions almost made the playoffs was last season, where they missed by 1 game, albeit really a tiebreaker game, in a game that they should have won against the Seahawks early in the season. Matter of fact, it's a game that at the end of the season, the very last week, the Seahawks probably should have lost. But there was a lot of questionable calls over the last 4 or 5 minutes of that game. But we're not going to blame the refs. The Lions should have took care of business early in the season. They shouldn't have lost 6 out of 7 games to start the season. Just one more win and they would have been in. At least the Lions crushed the Packers' hopes of playoffs in the last game. What a way to end the season. Send Rodgers packing. Prior to that, 2017, they missed the postseason despite a 9-7 record. So eerily similar to 2022. The Detroit Lions have made the playoffs only 3 times since 2000. The Lions haven't been back to the playoffs since 2016, where they lost in a first-round bye to none other than the Seattle Seahawks. I'm getting real sick of these birds, man. The Seahawks, the Ravens, I've had enough. We better not lose another game to either one of those teams ever again. I've had it. But look, the Lions appeared in the postseason in 2011 and 2014, but those teams weren't making any noise. They weren't doing anything in the playoffs. The Lions have suffered 5 wild card losses in the 90s. And you guessed it, including none other than the GOAT himself, Barry Sanders, on that roster. And once the new century began in the 2000s, the Lions only endured another 11-year playoff drought, one that included the dreaded 0-16 season in 2008. The Lions have the longest active playoff win drought in the NFL. Let me say that again. The Lions have the longest active playoff win drought in the NFL. And they are the only team without a win in the 21st century. This stat dates back all the way to January 5th of 1992 in the 91 regular season where they finished 12-4. The last game that they won in the playoffs was against the Cowboys, and it wasn't even close. They kicked the snot out of the Cowboys 38-6. They held Dallas to two first half field goals, and they limited Golden Boy Troy Aikman to 114 yards and an interception. Our quarterback, Eric Kramer, went 29 of 38, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. And the GOAT himself put up 69 yards and a touchdown for the win. Why am I going through all this? What's the point? The Lions are in a pressure cooker right now. More so being at the top than at the bottom. It's harder to stay on top. It's easier to fall off the top. Everyone's gunning for you at the top. It's nice to be here, but the pressure's mounting. Especially when 2023 came with such high expectations. Not only from the Detroit Lions management and ownership and coaches, but from the fans. After finishing 9-8 in 2022, having a pretty historic run to end the season, and then missing the playoffs by that little margin of only a tiebreaker with Seattle. Many fans believed that this was going to be the season that we would take that next step. That potentially we might even win the NFC North crown. But it's not our first time. Who are we kidding? Lions fans, we drink the Kool-Aid and we say this every single season. But this time is different. And I can honestly say that. I feel it's different. It's not just words dribbling out of my mouth anymore. It's not talking to my father early in the season and listening, to all of his belief and wisdom and passion about the Lions and how excited he is about who we just picked up in the draft and, yada, 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 right? It's the same old, same old. We all hear it from our fathers and our grandfathers before them. And, our kids are going to hear it from us. They already do. By the way, congratulations, Jade, on making it to the States tonight for Florida, Naples swimming. Congratulations. They did a great job. Love you, buddy. So the Lions, this is what's crazy. The Lions have never appeared in a Super Bowl, right? Be that as it may, they are the only team that has existed since the Super Bowl era began that is yet to play in a Super Bowl. As I mentioned previously, though, not appearing in this Super Bowl means they never won one. Go figure, right? However, our Detroit Lions haven't been pathetic forever. We can count 4 NFL championships, right? Prior to the AFL-NFL merger. And 2 additional appearances in the title games prior to that era. So we weren't just some crappy team forever. We just have been since 57. We just haven't done anything. We've been close. We've had opportunity. We just haven't put it all together. But this is different. And the reason why I wanted to go through all this and explain all of that and to give you some of the history is because some of you may not know the history. Most of us are well defined with it. And now the tide is changing, right? The momentum is changing. And circumstances in Motown are changing. Dan Campbell has very high expectations of this team. So does Brad Holmes. So does Sheila Hamp. And everybody else, this part of this team, including the fans. We are not going to accept mediocrity any longer. The thing that really burns me up the most is that the Lions still don't get any damn respect from anybody. So it's time we take it. And we don't let the pressure be too great. And we rise above it. So keep cheering on your Lions. Because this is the season where everything starts to change for the future. Put a stake in the ground today and remember this day, because when we look back, we're going to remember that this was the day that everything changed for Detroit sports. That the Detroit Lions were going to start to be winners. They've had an excellent season so far. And it's going to continue. And I'll see y'all later in the playoffs. Go Detroit Lions. Go One Pride. We'll see y'all later. Take care.
Wants to throw it to Short. He caught it. He's going on a first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one.
No respect.